Good morning. I am calling to order our regularly scheduled meeting of the Committee of the Whole. My name is Elizabeth Glidden. I'm the chair of this committee, and I'm joined today by Council Members Cano, Bender, Council President Johnson, Council Member Andrew Johnson, Council Members Yang, Quincy, and Goodman, and we are a quorum of the committee. We have one item on our agenda for today. It's a discussion item, and it's a presentation of the Legislative Information Management System, and so our clerk, Casey Carl, is here to introduce us to the topic.
Good morning, Madam Vice President, members of the committee. As noted, my name is Casey Carl. I have the privilege of serving as city clerk for the city of Minneapolis and for this council. This morning, I am very excited to debut our new Legislative Information Management System, or as we call it, LIMS. We're excited to present this system to you this morning to announce that it is scheduled to go live for public access on Monday, September 11. Before I get started, it's important for me to recognize the team behind the project who are literally behind me this morning. They're the ones who are responsible for the development of this system and ultimately for its success. And so on this slide, I wanted to start by recognizing and expressing my personal appreciation for the strong support that this project has received from City Council, not merely in terms of funding, though certainly that has been critical, but equally as much in terms of the leadership that the Council has given to us in terms of championing open government and greater transparency, which we believe this system will help us achieve. I recall that the Council's desire to open up its legislative process and make it more accessible was a key element of the recruitment process when I was hired in 2010. We've been working since that time to achieve that goal. And today I'm very proud to join with the City Council in making the system available to all Minneapolitans. This slide also shows only a handful of the many staff from across the entire enterprise who have been a part of this project during the past 5 years. I'm grateful to all of them for their contributions, but there are two who are especially deserving of recognition. First, Grant Johnson, who is the Information Technology Manager for the City Council and Clerk Department, and is with us this morning. Grant was and is instrumental to the success of this project. He built and has maintained the interim system we've been using in the clerk's office during the past decade in all of its various permutations, and he's played the lead role on behalf of the city in developing the overall design, functionality, and user interface of the new system, and is responsible for shepherding the data conversion into the new system. And second, our chief clerk, Jackie Hansen, also here with us, who supervises the legislative support team in the clerk's office, has done extraordinary work in helping design the workflows, the procedural rules, and the standardized data structure that are based on her 32 plus years of experience working for and with the city council. So to both of them, I am deeply in debt. And of course, the entire crew from the clerk's office, whose names are listed on this slide and have contributed to the success of this project. Clerks, other than me, of course, tend to operate behind the scenes and don't have opportunities to be recognized for their work. But all of this team in the chamber this morning and some of those who couldn't be with us contributed to success. So with your indulgence, Madam Chair, I'd like to ask if they would please stand to get that recognition that they deserve. So the clerk's team, Jackie, Grant, we have our partners I'm going to talk about in a minute. DataNet's membership, AutoDoll, our CIO is here, has been critical to success. Jeff Kendall, our IT project manager. We have a whole bunch of people who have joined us on a temporary basis, former urban scholars who have helped do all the data conversion, which has been vital to the project. So thank you to all of you.
All right. Thank you very much. And I'm glad, Mr. Carl, that you brought everyone to allow them to be recognized as part of the team that made this very large project happen. So
thank you. I'm also very pleased on this slide to introduce formally to the council our key partners in this endeavor, DataNet Systems Corporation, some of whom are able to join us today. DataNet is a minority-owned IT professional services firm headquartered in Maryland. They primarily focus on government solutions work with federal agencies and District of Columbia agencies. So we welcome them with us. We are honored to have the president and CEO, Robert Nathan, and some members of his team, the incredible system architects, programmers, coders, designers who created the LIMS for the city of Minneapolis. We think it is simply excellent. So at its core, this project is about acquiring, developing, and deploying a legislative information management system to democratize access to the city's legislative process, leveraging technology to increase access to this data, and in the process, making City Council more accessible to the community. By doing so, we're aiming to achieve two outcomes. First, we want to increase public awareness about the role of the City Council, specifically its legislative and policymaking responsibilities, and how it contributes to the community. Second, we want to enhance and even increase opportunities for the public to engage in that work, whether you're an insider to the process or someone who's never engaged in the past. And to truly democratize access to that data, we recognize that, especially for occasional and first-time users, we needed to ensure that our system didn't require extensive knowledge about the structure of City Council, about its standing committees, about how proposals flow through the process, deadline schedules. So in order to track an issue, a constituent now would need to have a fairly comprehensive knowledge of how the City Council is structured, how its standing committees operate, the subject matter jurisdiction of those committees, the timelines for notice, introduction, referral, et cetera, in order to really participate, that sort of insider knowledge. With the help of Jody Molinar Hansen in the coordinator's office, we undertook a comprehensive end-to-end review of the entire process, and we attempted to see that process through new eyes, the eyes of an outsider, a citizen in the city of Minneapolis, not familiar with the city council. And in doing so, we identified some outcomes we wanted to achieve with the new system, 4 overarching goals. First, we want to improve access to accurate, relevant, and timely data to support decision-making needs. That's for policymakers, for departments, staff, residents, and community stakeholders, and others. The new system was intentionally designed to emphasize a robust search functionality, modeling popular web-based search engines. It optimizes the user's ability to search, sort, and select data. Focusing on search rather on structure and process means that all users can query, find, and track issues by subject, keyword, file, document type, date range, committee, or just simply with a simple word or phrase and let the system find the information for them. Building on changes to the user interface and design, our second goal is to leverage technology to support public access to the legislative process. Throughout the system, data can be displayed on screen, printed, or downloaded in machine-readable format consistent with the city's open data policy. That means that users can interact, parse, and visualize data independent of how it might be presented in LIMS. And another feature we believe enhances usability for the public is greater attention to geographic location data, so that users can search for items that affect their ward or their neighborhood or even their street, because it'll be captured in the system. And while this has obvious connections for some types of business done by the council, for example, zoning and development applications, street projects, and similar matters, by adding this kind of geographic data to any kind of action before the council, where appropriate, the city is able to give residents a greater ability to monitor those actions that most directly impact them. The digital format, robust search and geocoded data fields, and data download options facilitate a self-serve concept that empowers users to conduct their own research, and it helps to meet residents where they are online in a digital environment. Our third goal is to streamline internal support functions associated with the production of legislative data. And finally, we've created the LIMS to provide a single point of entry through a permanent digital portal. Because it's web-enabled, LIMS serves as a public portal to all legislative data and makes that data accessible 24 hours a day, 365 days a year from virtually any location in the world. By standardizing our file formats and internal production procedures, we're also ensuring that information available from LIMS is trustworthy, accurate, timely, and consistent. This slide shows that at a high level then, there are 3 systems we're using now to produce and publish legislative data. I've already discussed the functions of LIMS. We'll be demonstrating that system in just a moment. In addition, we have the Charter and the Code of Ordinances, which are available from the Municipal Code Corporation, or Municode, our contract codifier. For comparative purposes, the city charter is like our Constitution. The Code of Ordinances is the compilation of municipal statutes enacted by the mayor and council. And of course, the city's website, which is the primary communications vehicle for the entire enterprise in terms of providing information and facilitating public access to the city government. One important note I feel compelled to make as sort of a disclaimer, as if you want to go ahead and get us queued up for the system. In an effort to manage expectations, it's good to note and point out that this system represents a fundamental shift in how the enterprise will engage with the city council and its committees, but also how we make that data available to the public. So despite our best efforts, there will be mistakes along the way, but I think our success should be judged not only on how open and accessible we make the data, but equally in how quickly we respond to performance challenges that might come up. And I've referred to this with our team as living beta, so that we tend to be perfectionists in the clerk's office, but that approach can kill innovation. So we recognize there will be challenges along the way, and as long as we continue to implement and refine that system, our goal will be to respond as quickly as possible to make sure the data is always correct, accurate, trustworthy. So with that, we'll exit the PowerPoint presentation, and Ms. Hansen will help me walk through LIMS. So this is the Legislative Information Management System. Again, as I mentioned, going live to the public on September 11th. You can see that from the beginning, we talked about instead of focusing on dates and times and calendars, it looks much more like a web-based search. There's a large search bar in the middle of the screen so that users can simply use the search functionality to find what they need without having to know committee structures, subject matter jurisdictions, dates, or times. The entire site is designed to provide multiple pathways to finding information, but again, the primary path will be through that search function, with the goal making it easy for people to find the information they want. Just below the search bar, you'll see that there's a link to access data from prior years. She's hovering the little finger over it there. We are posting data since 1997 from the clerk's website, so that's quite a lot of information that we've got posted out there, and we are working as sort of a parallel project to convert all of that data into the LIMS as we move forward. All of 2017, the current year, is in, and I'm hopeful that by the end of this next coming month, we'll have all of the current term in, which means all of 2014, 15, 16, and 17 searchable through, and then going back in time to pick up the other data as we go. There is also an advanced search option underneath the main search bar. This will allow users to refine their search criteria based on a number of standard fields, and we'll look at that now and show you what those look like. As departments create their requests for action, they'll be helping us to index or tag items. So you can see that you can search on file type, on selected subcategories that tie to the file type, ward, neighborhood, the submitting department, committees of reference, the author of ordinances and resolutions, a date range, and also by the legislative status tags. Regular and more users, we assume, will probably find this advanced search option very helpful to them so that they can tailor and refine their search options. Back on the main page, we've also embedded lots of helpful resources for users available from this home page. So you can see in the blue bar, there is a direct link to the Charter and the City Code of Ordinances. There's a glossary, legislative process that details the step-by-step actions, some information about how the public can participate, a connection for meeting videos, the videos that are done by our communications department, and then also a subscription option where people can subscribe for Gov delivery messages about meetings and times that are done for the committees and for the City Council. There's also below that an option that says upcoming meetings. This will automatically display links to those meetings that are coming up in the future as they're loaded into the system, and then recent actions, which provide access to marked agendas, which are posted usually 1 hour after a committee or council meeting showing what action was taken. Again, a public service to show. At the very bottom of the page, the site automatically tallies the most visited files or pages that are in the system. So you can see we've done a lot of training lately using the Municipal Minimum Wage Ordinance, and that's become our most frequently visited file page. We use that to demonstrate the system with staff training. At the top of the page, there's a series of standard search functions. The first one is calendars and agendas. And of course, this is where we will list all of the meetings by date range. You can see it defaults to a standard calendar form. There's some color coding and some symbols that help people understand if there's a public hearing, if it's an updated meeting, adjourned, regular, special, etc. If you look on Wednesday the 2nd, you'll see there's something that says 2 more. Where there are more meetings than the space visually allows, it'll expand and show that there are more meetings. As the meeting agendas are loaded, they become links to the actual agenda. There's a variety of ways to display information. It automatically defaults to the month. There's also at the top right, you can see an upcoming list or a week view. The upcoming is just a straight list, but you'll see there is also, in addition to the standard symbols about what kind of meeting, there's a calendar icon. So if a member of the public were coming here and let's say they wanted to attend this morning's Ways and Means Committee meeting, they'd simply click on that calendar icon and it puts it on their calendar for them. Right above that link, it says City Council, which would be all the City Council, all of its standing policy committees, the Independent Audit and Executive Committee, and the Charter Commission. Boards and commissions would provide links to our approximate 40 boards and commission meeting information. There's also a link here for events, which would be official city events that we've notified the public about, and an option to do all calendars, where you could combine all the City Council, its committees, the independent boards, the boards and commissions, and events into one listing. So that's one place where all of these events would be listed. You can search in the calendars. As you see, there's a keyword search, and you can print, or you can email these links using the tools that are provided. So it's pretty self-explanatory in terms of the calendar and agendas. There is at the top another section called Latest Actions. I'm not going to go into it. It obviously provides links to the latest actions that the council or its committees have done. The reports is a very robust section. It takes a lot of things we're currently doing and also expands on it. So of course, committee reports are the heart of our process. Committees make recommendations to the city council acts on those recommendations. The committee reports are not only minutes of those meetings, it also includes the committee's recommendations on all actions, any public hearings that are conducted, and other matters that happen in a committee are contained within its report. The council proceedings is the legally official definitive record of the council's acts, orders, and decisions. It's also published in our official newspaper in compliance with law. Those are also published through the system as they are now, but here they are through this link under reports. 2 new standardized reports that we frequently get requests for in the clerk's office are attendance and voting record reports. The system automatically takes out from every meeting that detail and provides access to it. There's also a link to a public hearings page to give greater emphasis to that information for the public. When are public hearings? Where are they? What meeting and what's the subject? And then at the bottom, we've talked about this before. We started doing this in 2014, and we've been doing it every quarter. So every 3 months, the clerk's office produces a session statistics report, which provides access to statistics about meetings. How many did we do? According by each committee, council, audit, exec, charter, how long were those meetings, how many items were introduced. You'll see that we have 2 issues tied to ordinances. One is matters that have been introduced and referred. So within that quarterly period, how many proposals have been introduced and referred to what committee and what chapter and title of the code do they touch, who's the author, etc. Ordinances enacted are those that have been finally disposed of by the council during that 3-month period. Resolutions adopted, same thing, and then appointments made to boards and commissions. All of that data has been posted every quarter from 14, 15, 16, so far through 2017. And with the introduction or launch of this system will be automated by the system and is not only available in a PDF format, but also the raw data that then can be exported into a CVS or a comma-separated value file in Excel so that users could visualize that data if they chose to do so. There's a link at the top for boards and commissions. This will connect to our old site. Our plan in a phase 2 of this project is to extend the functionality of LIMS to the city's boards and commissions so that it provides a one-stop portal for all meeting information about not only the city council and the sort of policy-making bodies, but also those appointed advisory boards and commissions, and that would be integrated together into this system. There's a link for notices, something the clerk's office is working on in conjunction with the departments across the enterprise, providing a single location for public notices listed by date and subject matter, again, as a convenience to the public, one place to go where notices could be published. There's also a help icon, the question mark at the top, and I think we provided copies of the information. It's a public user manual that we should have passed out. You should have it at your place, I hope. If not, we'll get it to you. But it shows how to use this system, and it's simply a PDF presentation that's available so the public can walk through step by step on each of these screens and see how to do it. So if we go back to the main screen, what we really wanted to show you is the power of this system. By searching on a file, we'll say municipal minimum wage. So if I read that the city council was discussing minimum wage, you saw that Ms. Hanson typed in minimum wage, she hit enter. These are the search results immediately back to her. You'll see that it says there are 1 to 10 displayed results of 13 total entries in the system. And then as you know, we do everything by a file number. The file number is the link. So the first file displaying is 2017-00723. This is the municipal minimum wage ordinance. I just want to stop and review what it says here before we click into and open the file. At a high level, it'll give you the file number for tracking purposes. It's also the link to the actual file. The title, which should give you a description of the subject matter and then what's inside of it. In green, you'll see the status tag, which says that this matter has been approved. At every stage in the process, there's a tag that gets associated so that the public knows it's a new introduction, it's under committee review, it's to the city council, it's for mayoral review, it's been approved, and we'll show you some of the other tags that are in the system. But if we go ahead and click on the file, you'll see that all of the actions associated with this, again, it starts with the title, the number for the file, the originating department, the city council, coordinated through the city coordinator's office. There are a series of, it looks like 10 actions that have been bundled into this file. Number 10 is the actual ordinance that was ultimately passed by the council. You'll see there's a drop-down menu for each one of those items, and as she clicks that item, you'll see it open up. Because this is an ordinance, it shows you what the ordinance number as enacted is, and that is a link to the actual ordinance. It tells you the date that ordinance becomes effective. It shows you where in the code it's located in terms of where it's been codified, the primary author, and then under this tab called Legislative History, every single time that item comes in front of a public meeting, it will give you the date, the action that was done at that meeting, a link to the agenda where that action took place, the record, whether it's a committee report or full council proceedings, and any motions associated with it by that author. It includes we'll look at the view introduction. This is the document when the proposal was first introduced. We'll go back and look June 28th. There's a voting record at Committee of the Whole where it was approved as amended because it was a voice vote. It simply gives us the detail that at the Committee of the Whole on this meeting date, there was a voice vote and it passed. Because we do roll calls on final passage where it was finally adopted, you'll see that it says a roll call and it shows 11 aye, 1 nay, 1 absent, and it gives the list of members pulled from the journal that we publish and provides it here as a quick reference. Then it also includes the official act as signed by the mayor. So here's our official ordinance showing all of the details out of the file. Under the double line after the signatures and dates, this is the text of the ordinance as it was finally enacted. And then the last entry we put in the clerk's office is the date it was published, because of course all of the council's actions have to be published. Below that, you'll see a link to the request for committee action, or RCA, which brings the matter forward, the fiscal note. You'll see a long list of supporting documents for this particular file. And then there are some related files that were related to minimum wage but weren't part of this particular file. But the links are here to cross-reference those within the system for the public. You can see it's pretty robust. It's fairly user-friendly, intuitive, provides, I think, a great level of transparency and access for the public, also good research tools for the public and for staff. And so that is our high-level review of the system using the standardized tools that are part of it. We're proud to make that tool available. And as a reminder, we're scheduled to go live to the general public with the system on Monday, September 11th. That concludes my presentation, Madam Vice President, but I or any of the staff members would be happy to respond to questions that the committee may have.
All right, thank you. And I will just note I didn't sign into my online thing, so if you have a question, just let me know. Councilmember Andrew Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank the clerk's office and the team at DENNET for putting together this system. I'm very impressed by it. I think it's an excellent solution, and I look forward to seeing additional data entered into it as well. One particular comment I did want to make was about video timestamping specifically and being able to link directly to parts of the council meeting. I think that's a wonderful feature and functionality to add to the site. I would strongly encourage and hope to see that we're linking up specifically to our YouTube videos that are currently being added out there. It's really a universal platform at this point. It allows the public to easily share, subscribe for auto captioning and a whole variety of other features. And so I think that makes the most sense rather than trying to switch over to some other third-party system. So I hope to see that functionality in there. I know from an IT standpoint that it's pretty easy to integrate, and I know it requires, though, a lot of work from the clerk's office to go and specifically find those time-stamped areas. But I think it'll really make all the difference to have that linked up as well. Again, thank you so much for the efforts. It's just wonderful to see, and I think it really sets the standard for information management systems, legislative information management systems, and will hopefully be leading the way for other cities across Minnesota, in the region, and in the United States.
Madam Vice President,
Yes.
very quickly, if I could, to Councilmember Johnson's point, yes, it is our goal to integrate with video, and it's one of the things that we are still working with DataNet on. I think we are very close, so we appreciate that comment, and we will continue to work with our colleagues from the Communications Department. It raised the issue I failed to mention when I was making my remarks, and that is the robustness of the system being able to integrate with other systems. So, for example, one of the things we are actively pursuing right now is an integration with the city's ELMS, or Enterprise Land Records System. And the reason we're integrating with ELMS is so that the data that relates to permits and applications and business licenses can be pulled out of the system of record, ELMS, integrated with LIMS so that the action taken by committees and by council on those specific applications can be added as a value add field and returned to ELMS, the system of record. And so we're working closely with Mr. Wilson and his team, Nate Stahn and others, with Jeff Kendall from the IT department, and with our colleagues in licensing to make sure that that can happen. And an extension of that, of course, is using ELMS to also get into zoning, planning, applications, and land use issues so that we integrate across the enterprise systems on those applications and have them talk to each other more readily and easily. Thank you.
Councilmember John Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks, Mr. Carl, for all of this work. This is really a demonstration of real project management. So many hands and departments and thinking going into this, getting it through without any big changes. I mean, following a direction and path that was set out is really extraordinary. So thanks for that work. I guess I had a question. One of the things that we had in this in the current version of the committee kind of structure is a special icon with a dollar sign. This relates to the budget, where we were able to accumulate lots of things within the finance department, budget hearings, the capital long-term improvement committee actions, even a link, I think, over to the Board of Estimate and Taxation, a calendar process that's outside of the regular standing committee process, but it's part of the budget process. Is there a way where we can incorporate some of those good things into this, or how are we going to address, for example, the budget calendar that's coming up with the budget address and then the hearings and all those steps? How can we make that easier for residents and ourselves to access?
Madam Vice President, the council member raises a good question following up on what I just started about integration. Using this system, we can also integrate with other websites that already exist. So for example, the website that we've created in partnership with our friends in Finance and Property Services about the budget, and which specifically relates to the Ways and Means Subcommittee on Budget, as it deals with the mayor's budget proposals and as the committee refines those and ultimately submits them back to council. I think this system will play a part of that in conjunction with other systems, and we'll work with our partners in those other departments, and especially IT, who supports all of us with that platform, to make sure that from a user's perspective, it's much more seamless, like it is now, but takes advantage of multiple systems working together.
Great. I look forward to that. I'm sure that was part of the plan. I just wanted to highlight that as something that's going to be coming up very quickly. The other comment I had is there other kind of content that we can direct into this that doesn't fit within the regular committee structure? I'm thinking, for example, of the study session that was recently held on housing. We've had one on banking services and other projects like that over the years. How can we make that data accessible in presentation form for residents?
Madam Vice President, again, this system will also accommodate your work in any form, whether it's a study session, a committee, a subcommittee, an ad hoc group, or as the full council. And we will use the various tools or navigation bars, both through public hearings, announcements, notices, our eGov delivery sign-up system, and also the listing of calendars that provide access to those agendas. So as we provide agendas for all of those public meetings, they can be accessible through this, and through that keyword search would be able to find the files and access that information as well.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilmember, I don't see any other questions, so I was just going to follow up on Councilmember Quincy's point about the way that we have been handling all these, for example, budget presentations, as we've kind of had a practice, I think you would call it, more of hosting them all on a certain web page in the finance department. And so at least if you know how to get there, it's more accessible in one place. But that's not the only department that has some processes they sometimes do. I don't know if they still do this, but the business licensing used to host web pages that were specific to things where they were getting stakeholder input that was separate from actual public hearing on an ordinance. And so would the system automatically know how to pull things like that, or do you have to have departments that are savvy enough to say, I want to make sure these pages are linked to this system so you can really see the full range of information that relates to a legislative action?
Madam Vice President, it's an interesting question, and I think the answer is it depends.
Okay.
And I sound sort of like a lawyer in that regard, but it's because I think that currently, for example, when we did minimum wage, we used our legislative system, its interim phase, to propose or to post and make public information about the files as they were in council. But we also worked with the coordinator's office and the communications department, who created a separate website that integrated through a series of links. So if you wanted general information about upcoming listening sessions, if you wanted general information about what was pending at the time, upcoming meeting notices, that was on the website. There were links embedded in that website that seamlessly integrated from a public user's perspective back into our LIMS. So from the outsider's perspective, you were just going between pages, but on the inside, working with communications, clerk, IT, coordinator, and others, we were integrating those different systems and applications so that it was a more seamless experience for a user. And I would expect that I would expect that we would continue to do so. So there is some amount of automation the system can help us with. There will also be human interaction or intervention to make those things happen as they do today.
Okay. And is there something that's happening to give a heads up, so to speak, to frequent users of our legislative system that these changes are here and they're going to hopefully have an easier time? And I mean, I'm excited to play with it, I guess, myself intuitively. It really looks fantastic. So I'm interested about what will be the experience of these frequent users who interact, and then kind of how that spreads, hopefully.
I'm anxious to respond to that one. Thank you for the question, Madam Vice President. We actually have already done a presentation in the community with Open Twin Cities, which is a group of civic technologists that monitor the city as it operates, and we were eager to incorporate some of their feedback about how to make the system a little bit better from a user's perspective. It's a good opportunity for me to tell all of my bosses sitting in front of me, we plan to reach out to the neighborhoods to talk about at one of your upcoming meetings. We would love to come show you the new way of connecting with the city council and its work. And to provide a demonstration of that system so that at the neighborhood level, there's at least some of that connectivity. We also have had some contact with members of the media who cover us regularly, with whom we have some regular contact, and to make them aware that this is coming, give them a little preview. And then, of course, through our staff trainings that we've been doing for the last 4 months, I think that they then will, through their groups and contacts and networks, help to explain that as well.
That's great. And I would just say maybe one other group is the residents who serve on our boards and commissions as a super highly engaged group. And again, I mean, I think the hope is, as you're saying at the beginning, is that by having a system that is easier to navigate, it encourages more people to kind of explore what's happening at the city. So, well, I'm not seeing further questions or comments, so I'll just say thank you for asking for the time so we could see this fantastic presentation. You know, this is our work here, touching the legislative process, working on policy, so it really is exciting to see all the improvements that have been made. And Councilmember Andrew Johnson, did you have?
Oh, no, another colleague had their, but they're.
Okay, someone else had a question or comment before we end? You're welcome to. Okay, I'm not seeing it. So, all right, with that, I believe that we are done with this item, and so I will move to receive and file. On approval, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? And we've received and filed. Thank you so very much, and thank you to the whole team. Thank you. We will turn to reports of committees with Community Development and Regulatory Services. Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. We have 10 items that we're bringing forward for approval on Friday. Item 1 is a land sale. Item 2 is a bond issuance for Catholic elder care. Item 3 are the regular liquor business and gambling licenses. Item 4 is a license settlement conference, as is results, as is item 5. Item 6 are 2 projects that are coming through the Affordable Housing Trust Fund pipeline as recommendations. Item 7 is approving projects that the Hennepin County's Affordable Housing Incentive Fund is moving forward. They're all projects that we're also involved in. Item 8 is the East Downtown Commons Park dedication fee. Item 9 is our HUD CAPER report submittal. And item 10 is our HOPWA recommendations. This is housing opportunities for persons with AIDS. I'm happy to answer any questions on items 1 through 10.
All right, I am not seeing questions. Next, we have Health, Environment, and Community Engagement. And the Vice Chair is Councilmember Andrew Johnson. This can, yeah. We'll go back to that in a moment. Next, we have Intergovernmental Relations, and Councilmember Cano led that committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And in our committee, we just have one item to approve, which was the receive and file report from the Welcoming Cities Task Force and Work Group. So I will move that forward.
All right, thank you. We'll go back to health, environment, and community engagement with the Vice Chair, Councilmember Andrew Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 5 items we're bringing forward: carry out bags and retail establishments, facility use agreement for disaster relief services, agreement on Indian work for health-related services, agreement with Virginia Polytechnic Institute for land use regression study, and permit requirements for amplified sound equipment ordinance.
All right. Next, we have public safety, civil rights, and emergency management with Councilmember Yang.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. We will have 3 items for approval. I will mention the 2 smaller items. One's a grant from the Minnesota Justice Foundation for participation in a summer law clerk program for the Civil Rights Department. The second is a 2017 Community Partnership Grant from Centerpoint Energy to the Fire Department. And the most important one for us is the appointment of the Chief of Police.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we have transportation and public works. Councilmember Reich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 7 items for consideration for full council. All items are contracts, agreements, or funding applications for standard activities of the department. I will stand for questions.
All right. Next, we have our Ways and Means with Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. The Ways and Means will have 12 items for consideration on Friday. 8 items are all legal settlements. We also have a bid for the Convention Center Digital Wayfinding Signage Project, contract amendment for elections management system support, joint powers agreement with the state of Minnesota for implementing the National Incident-Based Reporting System, and acceptance of a $1.5 million grant over the next 5 years from Merck Foundation to reduce disparities in diabetes care. Happy to answer any question on those 12 items.
All right, thank you very much. And finally, zoning and planning with Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 4 items from the adjourned meeting just this morning. Item number 1 is a rezoning, an alley vacation. Item number 2 is a rezoning for the Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative. Item 3 is a rezoning at 3816 Ewing Avenue South. And item 4 is approving an amendment to the future land use map in our comprehensive plan.
All right, thank you very much. So with that, I believe we have concluded with our agenda for today, and we are adjourned. Thank you.